We'll touch on workflow, guys. So we're across the top level technology, we're across the top level platforms that will support this. Now, what's our workflow to making something in 360 VR video? The great thing is, it's way easier today than it's ever been. Now, the first big step is to plan and prepare your 360 scene. So think about your audience, your experience. Audio is going to be very important, and make sure you test it. So is it a walkthrough of a museum? And in which case, what are the key artworks you want to show in that museum? What's the exposure look like? Is one side of the museum darker than the other side of the museum? So just think these through. Give them a test. Create your production plan and brief any talent. So if talent's walking through a museum, the talent can stop and point at any key pieces of artwork, whether it's a Mona Lisa or a Rembrandt or a Picasso. So pre-production is critical. And as I said, the big piece is curating your scene. So you've got a 360 space. People can't look everywhere at once. It's going to be daunting for that viewer. So it's up to you to direct their attention. So maybe give them some key areas of interest. And maybe in the background, if they did have a look, it's a nice, tidy background. Maybe it's a part of the museum or part of the office tour or part of that real estate that's less important right now. But you're going to have like a key area of attention in each scene. So it could be a view. It could be, if you're selling a kitchen in a real estate video, maybe it's just sort of focusing on that front view and focusing on the kitchen. I said it's very hard for them to look everywhere at once. And consider some visual prompts in post-production. So on set, maybe you have a presenter or some talent talking through the scene and telling people what to look at. Here's a spa bath, here's the fireplace, here's the kitchen. But you can do some, you can use some basic prompts in post-production. So you can define the first scene that they see so they don't have to look everywhere. So the first thing that loads, they're going to see that fireplace, or they're going to see that fridge, or they're going to see that kitchen. You can define that in post-production. And remember, this is still quite new, so don't do the jarring jump cut. So don't cut like an action scene in a movie where you're jumping jarringly from scene to scene. So slow crossfades are the best ways to go. So it's all about that user experience. If the person viewing your content's not comfortable, they'll just quit and close out. So you want to make that as easy to digest as possible. In post, as I said, you can add some titles and graphics if need be. They're supported by the likes of Premiere Pro. You can easily put in titles and banners and graphics there. Generally, when you do film with a 360 camera, it will need to be on some sort of stand. So depending on the stitching, the stand may or may not be visible. So you can actually cover that tripod with what they call a nadir. So it's just a little logo that sits at the bottom of that 360 scene and blots out your tripod. And as I said, Premiere Pro natively supports 3D editing. So it's super easy to just import the files, start working. It has a 360 view in Premiere Pro, so you can pan around yourself and check your scene or start to define points of interest. And the great thing is some of these new cameras like the Insta360, this can all be done on your mobile phone. So you can shoot it and edit it on the bus back or the train back to the studio or to home or to the office, depending on how complex that scene needs to be. And the simple thing is, just once you're done, just export it. So your non-linear editor will generally support 360 VR video, so it will export that as a flat file with that spatial data, and as soon as it hits the servers at YouTube or Facebook, that's when it becomes 360. So here's a look at some raw 360 footage. This is what it looks like from a 2-lens camera. So as you can see there, it's a kitchen and one lens is catching one half of the room and the other lens is capturing the other half of the room. So these haven't been stitched yet, but that's that raw footage of what's been captured. If you had an 8 camera rig or a 6 camera rig, you're going to have 8 or 6 individual angles of that 360 scene. Now here's a flat 360 video. So this hasn't been wrapped with that spatial data yet. You could still play this back, depending on what mode you're in. If you're in Premiere Pro, it can look like this if you don't have 360 view turned on, but this is a flat view. So this is ready to be exported with that spatial data, and it'll be wrapped once again, once it hits Facebook or YouTube. But don't freak out. I said that's what your footage will look like initially, as a flat stitched image. Now the last piece here on the left, that's an idea that's looking straight down. There was a camera tripod there holding the 360 camera. Because the camera was capturing everything, it actually captured the tripod as well. So in this instance, we just patched it. So we've just put this logo over the top of it. So it's pretty straightforward. The language sounds complex and idea. It's just literally a logo on the bottom. And there's some really great tutorials around that literally walk you through 5 or 10 minutes how to create that idea. So don't let that scare you or stop you from getting started. The middle view, that's that VR view. So if you're in Oculus Rift or some VR glasses or on the YouTube mobile app and you hit that VR button, this is that VR stereoscopic mode. So you've got a left and a right field. So once you put the goggles on, your brain sees that as a full image, and then you can choose where to explore through that scene. And on the right is just an example of a title being used in a video, adding some extra information about that scene. So it's up to you how creative you want to get. There's some bonus links here, guys. We'll see if these open. So if you want some inspiration, YouTube has a great virtual reality page, and they're curating some of the best content from around the world. So have a little watch and get some ideas. So there's everything from CG, computer-generated video game type stuff. There's some great documentaries and narratives. There's lots of fantastic nature, underwater, South Pole stuff. So it's nearly limitless what you can view. There's the free solo. Looks like there's a free solo 360 where the fellow climbed Half Dome. It wasn't Half Dome. It was El Capitan in Yosemite. But yeah, lots of great links there to give you inspiration. Now the YouTube Creator Academy has some fantastic learning resources as well. These are all free. So just wait for that to load. Everyone loves a loading screen. But there's got some great little lessons in here that give you some more in-depth information to help you get started about 360 video. And lastly, this is a shout out to Ben Claremont. We follow him quite closely. He's just super fantastic at reviewing 360 video, 360 photos, a range of software and applications. So Ben's, I think, is one of the top. He's from here in Sydney, and he talks to a range of technologies, techniques, and ways to produce, edit, and present this content. Really worth a watch if that's something you wanted to get into further. Okay. Now that's nearly it, guys. Just some case studies from us. So one of our clients is Maserati. They had a brand new service center. So hopefully this loads. Bandwidth. I'll just turn the bandwidth down. That's a bad scene. You can see me in the background. In this instance, that probably should have been the start of the scene, the actual entry to the service center. And we've patched, you can see the shadows here of the tripod and the camera. It's a bit hard with that sort of light. That's why testing is critical, but we've actually patched the ugly tripod itself with their logo. And this is just a simple use case. It's just a walkthrough of their new service center. So when the customers turn up, they know what to expect. There's parking, there's reception, and out the back there, that's where your fancy, expensive car gets fixed. That's the workshop itself. And you can see here a little bit, see the front of that car distorts a little bit. That's the trade-off of these super wide angle lenses. So, yep, still not 100% perfect. I don't think it ever will be shooting with such wide angle lenses. There's a little bit of distortion there on the left, and as it comes into the middle, it squares up and looks more natural. So that's one use case. One of our clients won the best Airbnb in the whole world, so we helped them market this venue. We did a range of 2D traditional videos for them that had millions of views. And then we thought, what better way than to turn this into a 360 VR tour? So this is another pretty simple use case for 360 VR. We'll just pause it. And you can see here, we're in really low quality, but this goes all the way up to 8K. So 8K uses a lot of data, so just be aware of that. But in this scene, we've put in some titles. You can see there's a full spa and shower. There's a wood fireplace. It's a nadir of our old brand before we rebranded. But people love, for accommodation, love being able to view where they're going to go. And this is in the bush in Australia. So it's really great for people to see that experience before they go and spend their money and book. So there's a view from underneath the treehouse. They said you can explore where you are. There's bushwalking trails. There's lots of natural native wildlife. So you can see there the walking tracks, 30 minutes, easy access. And that's what it's like to look up at the treehouse. So some pretty simple use cases. You don't have to get really technical. The goal is potentially having a scene that tells that story itself. What else have we got here? We did also do the Archibald Prize in 360. This was interesting. This was a couple of years back, and this went to Facebook. So let's see if Facebook loads and how much luck we'll have. Okay. I'm going to turn the sound off. So this is just a walkthrough, and you can see the point of interest. We're controlling where people look. So you don't have to look around if you don't want to. Guys, that's kind of it.